working out things so that I could come here and pick your brains and see just what's going on with ice boating on Sodus Bay now. I want to introduce a few people who came with me. First of all, we have Tom. Where's Tom? Tom's hiding back there. Tom and Martha Lightfoot. Tom is your Sodus Point historian. If you weren't aware of that, Tom became a historian about a year ago. And he's kind of taken over the ranks of Bruce Barrington. And Bruce and Edie are here to videotape this little discussion that we'll have about ice boating. So I'm very happy that they're able to come, and I'm sure Bruce will interject some questions some way around the bend. He's got a lot of things going on in his mind. But my ulterior motive for coming here is not known to many people. This guy sitting back here is my husband. This is David Fox. And I think deep down inside, he's a wannabe ice boater. So I brought him along so that maybe he'll fall into the groove with you guys. Edie is filming, and she's asked me that when we talk, if you're first time talking, that you address a question, if you would say your name and where you're from so that you can be identified, and I guess I should do that. Hi! I'm Rosa Fox, and I'm going to moderate the questions. I'm the Huron historian, and I'm thrilled to be here with the Sodus Bay Ice Boat Club. Okay, I got that right?
Yep.
Sodus Bay Ice Boat Club.
It is right.
So, the guy back there with the red jacket, it's been pointed out to me that you may know the club history better than just about anybody in the room. So, what is your name, sir?
Bill Van G.
Bill
Van G.
Van G. Bill, would you be willing to talk a little bit about the club history?
I don't know much more about it than anything else. You know, the club has and I don't know what happened to the scrapbook. There's some pretty complete history involved in most of that. I don't know where that is.
I got it, Billy.
You know, I've only been a member of the club since about 1970. I think the Sodus Bay Ice Boat Club in its current form was incorporated in 1962. It used to meet at the old Pierce House downtown. It burnt down a few years back. And it was basically built up, made of aero ice boats initially, which are the fiberglass two-seaters, and then we had a few DNs, and later on it became more DNs than it did aeros, and all through the 70s and 80s we raced on Sodus Bay pretty much every weekend. If we couldn't race in Sodus Bay, we were able to go to Irondequoit Bay or Canandaigua Lake and sail there, which was the reason that people went to DNs, because if you got snowed out here, the DN was a lot more portable than the aero ice boat, which requires a crew of 12 and a truck to move it any place. So,
Why does it require a crew of 12?
yeah, I'm being a little facetious. They're just a heavy boat. The DN weighs 45 pounds. The hull of DN weighs 45. The hull on an aero weighs 200.
Yes.
Wow.
You know, so it just, you know, it's bigger, it's just heavier. So it makes it a lot less portable. That's why we went to DNs. DNs are a single person boat, where the aeros are a two-person boat. And the DN is just a lot more portable. You know, it's made out of wood, and it comes apart and moves around quickly and easily.
Now, the DN is an older model boat than the Aero, is that right?
It is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So, are there many of the older DNs left around the bay?
I hope not.
Maybe two.
You know, the current boats now were really configured around probably the early 70s by the Goujon brothers, who were a couple of guys in Bay City, Michigan that were making glue. They were making epoxy glues, and they were trying to make lightweight ice boats. And they were able to take, where the original DN was made out of, say, 3/4, 1 inch pine and oak and 1/2 inch plywood. They took that boat and they started using 5/8 inch balsa core, or not balsa core, Sitka spruce, which is a lot lighter wood, with 1/8 inch decks on it. And they made the boat go from weighing 100 pounds to less than 45. To the point where 45 is now the minimum that the boat has to weigh, just to sail a legal race. And they developed a whole industry around that glue, which is now a worldwide company now that makes epoxy for all sorts of different things, from windmills to major big ocean racing boats. And it all started just building DN ice boats. But their configuration, so they went from that heavy boat to the lightweight boat in the early 70s, and now every boat that's built, every DN that's built since then has been built to their specifications. And all the boats are just lighter, more portable, and they've changed a little bit since then, but basically it's the era of what we call the Goujon boats versus what you refer to, the old boats. There's just not many of them around.
Okay. So, speaking of early boats, is there anybody in here who recalls some of the early ice boat builders on the bay?
Bill Kalush built some boats, yeah.
Okay.
Old Bill
Yeah, Harris.
first.
And did he build boats of his own design, or did he build
No,
the DMs?
he built a couple, he had a couple of stern steers and a couple of what they call front steers, which were a bigger boat, which is kind of an E-class boat, and he built DNs. You know, he's quite a ways before my time even, you know. I remember him as a little kid, you know.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
Bill also built boats.
Oh, okay, all right.
yeah, I've built a lot of boats over the years.
Ice boats and sailboats?
Well, ice boats primarily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. When you're sailing, what are some of the rules of the road that you need to be concerned about? When you go out for a sail, what do you need to think about heading out there? Does anybody want to talk about the rules of the road?
Watch out for Norm.
And why is that? Is he bad on the ice?
No, he's good, he's just
Show you where
give
the
me a
rocks are.
little, yeah. He can get a little out of control at times.
Yeah, somebody's got to do
Norm
it.
finds the holes in the ice.
Oh, no.
Norm likes to go swimming.
Oh, really?
Not necessarily, but it happens.
Okay. So are there things that you, safety concerns that you should have when you go out on the ice? Besides avoiding the
Waters.
holes?
Don't tie a knot in the end of your main chain.
There you go.
Yeah, helmet's good.
Helmet.
Helmet's good.
Helmet, goggles, ice claws,
So that if you go through, you can pull yourself up.
out.
Out.
The claw.
Yeah.
Never go out by yourself.
Don't follow Norm.
You're not following Norm.
All right.
No, there's knowing where the pressure exists at the time.
Back to the history a little bit. Are there any historic boats that you remember on the bay, the names of them, who sailed them, and what was so special about them?
I've got one. Mine is from 1940.
Say your name, so.
Norm Vanderbilt. I've got one of the original E-boats, Skeeteries, that was built in 1944 and finished in 1944, I guess. One of 6, I guess, originally built. The castings came from Gleason's Works in Rochester. And a group of guys built 6 boats back then. They were they call the Formula One of ice boats.
So how big were these? What?
It's- It's 23 foot with this bowsprit,
Okay.
13 and a half foot wide, 75 square foot of sail,
How tall's the mast?
20 foot,
Okay.
20, well, it used to be 22.
Okay. You thought I was kidding.
Okay. All right. So who sailed that?
I sail it.
You
His-
sailed
yeah,
it.
oh,
Who
yeah.
sailed it
Father.
before you?
A guy from Round Pond was original owner,
Oh,
sailed it on
yeah.
Round Pond, is where it came from. The
Okay.
guys were Ronquay Bay and Sodas Bay mostly, or Round Pond, where the boats were mostly sailed, there's 6 that were built back then.
Huh. Any other boats?
Well, there was a boat, stern steer rebuilt down where Billy works, it's called Ever Ready, stern steer. That's the oldest of the boats.
Yeah, most of the old stern steers were built during the, and they were just gathered up old pieces of lumber, the guy wires, telephone poles for stays. You know, I mean, a lot of the stuff was pretty crude, and they were heavy, they weren't portable at all. I mean, once you put it on the ice, it was on the ice. Until you took it off again in the spring.
So,
But-
oh, okay, so you left it on all year?
Yeah, and you know, and they
Okay.
steered from behind. All the modern boats steer with the front runner. The stern steers steered with the aft runner. And you know, they could carry from two to 7 or 8 people at a time on them. You know, depending on the size of them.
Wow.
Some are pretty large. I saw one. I do a fair amount of traveling with the ice boat stuff, and you get out to Wisconsin, out of Lake Michigan and places like that. They have big boats. I mean, I saw a stern steer out there that was over 50 feet long. They brought it on a flatbed truck that had its own crane on it. It was that heavy. To set that thing up on the ice.
Wow.
And it's done up pretty much like, I can't remember the name of it now, but it's done up pretty much like a piano. I mean, they're just gorgeous. If you get down in New Jersey, down the Navasink River, there's a whole bunch more down there. Down to Red Bank, yeah.
They have a lot of those on the Hudson River. Down
Yeah.
by Kingston area. I went down there about 5 years ago, took some nice pictures and movies.
They had some real historic ones out for the first time in 20-some years ago.
Something like that, yeah.
When I first started
Jack Frost.
researching this, I found that the Hudson River area was the prime place for it. The Roosevelts, boats were built for the wealthy people who lived down there, including the Roosevelts and whatnot.
Red pleated seat on it with spokes around it, would hold about 5-6 people.
Oh, wow.
The
And they
weather
went
was-
fast, too.
The weather was a lot different then. They're not sailing those down there anymore. You know, they haven't sailed them down there in years.
That was about the last time they sailed when I was down there.
Yeah, it was 7 years ago or so.
Yeah.
About that.
I mean, it's rare they bring that stuff out anymore.
A lot of that old stuff, rich people would buy it, but they'd hire captains to sail it, like at Red Bank, New Jersey, they could sail out over the saltwater ice, which is the fastest. And they'd have people out there sailing, and they'd just be in there partying. The owners, you know?
Right, watching their boats go
That's on
by.
your boat.
Yeah, yeah, yep. How about some of your memories of sailing? What's something that really sticks in your mind that was a special moment? Maybe what got you into ice boating? What grabbed you about it?
Something else to do.
So,
Well,
okay, the winter, yeah.
yeah. Well, my name's Dale Hout. And I can remember my father had a DN, and when I was 6 or 7, he put me in his lap and take me out with him. And by the time I was 7 or 8, I could sail it by myself. Then I got chucked out of it, so. But those were my first memories.
Yeah.
Actually being taught how to sail an ice boat
Cool. Out here on Sodas.
on Sodas Bay.
Sodas, yeah.
Yeah, Dad was a member of the club. And
I'm Marty Turtley. Carl Eaton was more or less my mentor. Carl had a DM. I think it was a DM.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure. And there was some of us kids that he was kind enough to lend us the boat, and just, we would go whenever we could,
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I got a picture, there was myself, Kay Pennycock, Mary Sargent, Cindy Putnam. And we used to take turns, and that was way back when Herbie Kalush had the marina, and there was a pot-belly stove in the back of the marina. And he always had a pot of hot chocolate on the top of the stove. So you'd go out for a run, turn it over to, give the next gal a turn, and then you'd have a cup of hot chocolate. So those were very, very fond memories.
Great story, Marty.
You got that picture, Nancy? I have it. I got it written down here that you're welcome to have it.
I'd like to get a copy of it. I think that would be a great
Yeah,
picture in
matter
the
of fact,
newsletter.
interestingly enough, the person that gave it to me, believe it or not, was Steve Sill.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
So,
huh,
yeah.
huh.
So,
That's great.
and just a little sidebar here when Bill was talking about the Arrow. And I have no idea whose Arrow it was that I was in, but they clocked me going 60 miles an hour. So, I mean, I don't know how much truth there is to that, but that's what I was told. But,
What was the fastest speed anybody can estimate that they ever went on Sodas Bay? And
What's
up?
I'm the speed demon.
Bob Crum, 75 last year with 2 people in his.
Oh, no, more than that. We were way over 75. I've been clocked to 89 miles an hour in my boat. And Holly and I went out last winter together, and we were way over that, I can tell you.
you could really,
Yeah.
as they would say, haul ass.
We were out and it was blowing 30,
Yeah.
Last year.
30 miles an hour, and typically the
Yeah.
boats will go
Yeah.
3 to 5 times the speed of the wind.
74.
So I was pushing it as much as I could without breaking the boat, but we were definitely tickling 100.
What I enjoy now, that I'm old and gray and everything, looking out our front window and seeing you guys go by. And it sounds like a freight train, and vroom.
That's good, I like that, the descriptor of a freight train. Are there other descriptors for ice boating that you can think of? That
Rosa,
come to your mind when you?
I have a question. When you're going that fast, do you have any control, or how do you, other than,
You seem like you had control.
Yeah, I
Oh.
had control. I had control.
you felt safe, or you felt,
Yeah. We were
Wow.
doing well.
Oh my goodness.
On a day similar to that, we had beautiful ice, and we set up marks out there, and we were ripping around, and we had went up, tucked up near South Shore, and we would come back into the parking lot to warm up, because you could only sail for 20, 30 minutes in those conditions, and you're like frozen. You gotta come back in. And so we had come back in, and this car pulls in, and this guy jumps out of his car, and he goes, "You're rattling the dishes in my cupboards." South Shore. And we're like, "Oh, we're sorry." He goes, "No, do it again." That was it. He says, "Yeah, my windows are rattling and the dishes are rattling in the cupboard."
oh my gosh. And this was winter of 2019, last year?
No, this was a couple years ago. This was probably 2008 or something like that. Yeah, 7
Oh, I
years
meant,
ago.
You know, the interesting thing about sailing, and this is either the ice boating or sailing on the water, per se, the power boaters think they've got power. Man, they've got, I don't know, 2 Perkins engines or whatever the hell it is they have. But I'll tell you, you get in a sailboat, when that wind is blowing, it would far outrun any power boat ever. It's just the power there is just, it's really,
Less gas.
yeah, but it's hard, it's hard to describe the power. Just one little sidebar, when Chris first joined the ice boating club.
You have to bring that up?
But it is, he'd gone ice boating and came home, and I can still see him coming up the porch, coming in the door. His face is all bloody. His glasses are like this. And I said, who won? He said the bull. And that's what I mentioned earlier about don't tie a knot in your main sheet.
I didn't want the end of the main sheet to go loose, so I put a figure 8 knot in the end of it, not realizing that main sheet was not that long. Okay, so as I wanted to let sail out to slow up a little bit, it got to the end with the knot, it wouldn't go any further, and the ice boat went up, threw me out, and it kept going. Some of the people here, I don't know who it was, finally caught the ice boat, but the ice boat went by itself.
I wondered how you stopped in them, but I guess you don't.
Oh, no,
Well, not when you're in it.
Seawall works pretty good.
What was it?
No, they sail similar to a sailboat. I mean, you turn up into the wind, you head directly into the wind, and that's how you slow down and stop. But,
Or go
Okay.
flying out like Krista.
or up on the rocks like Norm.
Has there ever been any incidents between ice boating and the ice fishing people?
Well, I can tell you, I'm Bill McKee. And a situation we ran into, I was sailing with Lee Ludwig one day, and it was a beautiful sunny day, but the wind was blowing, so there was a fog. The snow was blowing. And Lee and I started down the bay, and we could see the tips of each other's masts, but I couldn't see Lee, and he couldn't see me, but we figured out how far apart we were. And we got down off of Thornton Point and flew by an ice fisherman sitting on a bucket by himself out there. And I could see him, Lee could see him, but we couldn't see each other. And that's how close we came to. So, sometimes that happens.
What about the fishermen's holes? Do they bother you when you go over them?
Yeah, when they leave the ice on top.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they pile it up.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Or they throw paint tanks out there.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, yeah.
That's the holes aren't big enough, you know, with a skate and something
Okay,
else.
yeah, so you go right over it.
You know, it over.
Yeah. Has anybody ever gone through?
Norm?
Oh, Bill Van Gees done it to you.
Just Norm? I can't believe it. Just Norm?
Did John not go in? Didn't John not go into?
Yes.
Yeah, he went too.
But then, you know, I was looking back over old newspaper articles, and I don't know how many of you are familiar with the name Ed Carell. Ed Carell, Connolly's Cove.
Oh, yeah.
Ed Carell built Connolly's Cove before Connolly's took over, and Ed used to build boats. And I guess he built an ice boat, and this would be going back into the 20s. And he was out there, and he crashed through the ice, and it took a couple people to go out and get him. This was over on the east side of the bay. But that made the newspapers, and you never see anything like that making the newspapers now.
Well, hopefully.
We turn that.
Yeah, right, hopefully not.
When you're low in an ice boat, you don't get a very good view. You gotta go up on the hill to take a look at the ice before you go out. It's a good idea.
Okay.
Because you can come right up on open water and never even see it until you're there.
You couldn't see very far, could you?
Well, I saw the ice breaking up. It's a little too thick. There was another time I went there was a goose hole. We had non-migratory geese sitting on a spring over the night. The guys sailed over it. It was open water Friday. They sailed over it Saturday, and I came down to take my boat off Sunday, and it thawed back out. And I never knew about the hole. And John Knapp and I found it. And
Yeah, that was synchronized swimming. Really.
He looked like the Statue of Liberty.
I got airtight compartments in my boat. It doesn't sink.
Yeah, yeah. Any other stories of adventure on the ice? You guys are all daredevil, speed freaks and what?
And Art Krisky, my friend of my dad's, working on Dad, his boat stopped, so he went to push it one day with a maul he had for breaking ice around the runners when you leave the boat sit in the ice. He went to push off and the hammer went through the ice because it was so thin. He was way out long ways from shore.
Ouch.
Yeah, if the wind would come up.
Yeah. Hey, Stevens girl, you're awfully quiet.
That's okay, I'll be
She got a new
quiet.
boat and then didn't have any ice that year.
I sailed it last year.
Yeah, last year.
You did sail this year? Okay, I never saw it. Did you watch it at your house?
Yep. No, sorry, at the yacht club. I did set up at the house.
Okay, I only got out early then. I didn't get out
Yeah.
later on. I didn't get out much.
Yeah. No, my dad would actually come into Briscoe Cove there and pick me up with my brother and sister when we were little.
Yeah.
With the ice boats and club boats. And then we would sail. And drop me off and go have fun to the bars, I'm pretty sure.
So you got hooked then?
Yeah.
Great.
Probably 7 years old or so.
Wow. That's one thing, you know, you got these two who are very youthful, but where are the youth in this sport? How come they're not out there? Are there more than just not coming here?
My son is 23, he's been doing it since, like
Has
Holly,
he?
since he was little,
Yeah.
5, 6 years old.
Yeah.
I think it's just a family get into it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be if my dad wasn't, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
You wouldn't.
Yeah, it is kind of a
Swing by.
family.
I went with my dad.
Yeah.
Go around the bars. I was 7.
That's probably around the Bay Ridge.
You'd ice boat around to the different bars?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah?
He was a destination. He was a designated driver. 7.
Early initiation, that's
Yeah.
great. Awesome.
To get the kids off the ski slopes and onto the ice.
Yeah.
They're free.
Well, you need ice too. You haven't had very good years here.
Yeah.
Hopefully you get some coming along this year.
We haven't had any real racing in 20 years.
Yeah.
We haven't set up and had club racing in 20 years.
Yeah.
Where we used to go to races. Yeah, you know, I travel all over. I
Out of
was
water,
the,
just hit a button and
I'm the rear commodore for the Mountain Lakes region of the the International DN Association. And for about 15 years, I ran most of the racing that was held in this country at the national level for the North Americans and World Championships. So I was kind of all over the place.
Do you feel that that's because it's getting warmer in the winter?
Oh yeah, you know, you know, for the first 5 years, I told myself it was just a cycle we were going through. You know, now it's been since 1999 and 1998 since we've had any official racing in the region. And you know, I got to think it's global warming. There's got to be something going on there. You know, the weather's changed enough that we just don't get the conditions. Now, right now they've been racing. They just had the what they call the Western Regional Championships out in Wisconsin this past week, where they had 40, 50 boats set up out there. And out there in Minnesota, they've been sailing since probably about the first week of November. Where here, you know, historically we never get ice until around just before Christmas anyways. Even in good years, it was always, I used to always figure it was around Carl Eaton's birthday, which for some reason in my mind was the 22nd of December. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But that was when we historically would get ice. And again this year, we got ice around the 18th or 19th, but it just doesn't stay anymore.
When they were doing ice harvesting back in the early 1900s here.
Sure. You know.
It would start usually December 1st when they would get 16 inches of ice.
Right.
It's crazy.
I used to have a Volkswagen Beetle that we had just for riding on the ice back in the early 70s.
Is that the one that sunk out there, Bill?
No.
It's always on top of the wagon. It's out on the
I
lake.
remember that.
Do you want to ask them about the doodle bug?
I don't know if anybody goes back that far. Have anybody here heard about the doodle bug that used to race on the bay here?
Oh, is that the one that had the gas engine on it?
It was basically a Piper Cub that they it could have got up to 120, but when it got up past 100, they usually got too scared to continue. And they were very concerned about the
They
crashing.
don't have good ways to measure, they didn't have good ways to measure speed back then like they do now either. So it was kind of like being a fisherman, you know, if you caught a fish this big, it was. And I think a lot of those speeds were declared were kind of a result of that. You know, nowadays everybody's got a portable GPS with them, so they know exactly how fast they're going. But back then it was questionable.
Well, he said that there was 2 speeds that he raced at. He had fast and oh crap speed.
I've gone fast enough that I've scared myself.
So how many of you have had those oh crap moments? Go ahead, Greg.
Just, to me, it's like the first ride in a boat is like, it's just so exhilarating.
Yeah.
You know, you just feel great. And a couple of times I've gotten airborne, you know, your boat just, they are built like the wing of a sail, or the wing of an airplane. So if you get that between the ice and that, and you lift off, that's a no crap.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never really flipped over totally and stood on the mast. Some of these guys do.
Wow. Other oh crap moments?
Oh, another one was I got my brother-in-law down here finally, who's a sailmaker, and he made me a new sail for my Arrow. And I had a plank that was a little old.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. We got going probably, I felt like the fastest I'd ever been going. And I sheeted in, the plank blew apart, the mast came down, of course we had helmets on the side of his helmet, and he hasn't sailed since. The plank just blew apart. And,
Wow. It would be no crap moment.
yeah.
Other exciting moments that you maybe wish you hadn't gone out, or you really want to go again?
I mean, it would snow. I mean, can you do much in the snow?
Really depends on the snow.
Yeah.
You know, if you
How much
have
wind?
that real light fluffy snow, you could have a foot of that still go through it. If you have a half an inch of wind-driven icy snow, you're not going anyplace. Or if you have 4 inches of heavy wet snow, you're not going anyplace. And again, it depends on the wind. If you have a lot of wind, you can go through more snow than you could if you didn't have a lot of wind. On bare ice, it takes virtually no wind at all to make them go. And then after that, it's all resistance.
The William Nixon Loomis, you know who I'm talking about. Tom lives in, Benjamin Loomis is William Nixon's son. They had property on the east side of Sodus Bay, and oftentimes in the winter, regardless of the way the ice was or the snow cover on the ice, they came from Sodus Point and they went over to the east side to Loomisville, which is where they had their place over there, on sleds, but they called them ice sleds. And so they must have had some sort of runners, probably like a sleigh. I don't know. But is there a way for the ice boats to have a different set of runners that you could
Not really. I mean,
change out?
We've tried different configurations over the years. We were convinced that we could put skis on them. We could go across snow. The trouble with any of that stuff, it's all about level resistance. If the wind's blowing, you need something to hold you there to propel you forward.
Okay.
And if you in a ski or something, it would just make you go sideways, and you wouldn't be able to go forward.
Okay.
So it really doesn't work. We've tried everything over the years.
I think what they have now that you can try, they have fiberglass, excuse me, fiberglass skis, and it's got the thing on the bottom, the skag or whatever it's called.
Yeah, if you don't reach down to the ice, it doesn't help.
Well, I mean, if there's snow out there, you know, if you want to go ice sailing in the snow.
They cover over a drift, but you gotta get back to the ice, or else you won't have any sight.
Yeah, you know, you can't have very much resistance, and they're not going anyplace.
Right, I know that. I've seen someone try to, I haven't seen it, but I've seen it online where they tried to use them. I have no idea how good they were.
Rosa, Todd's mom grew up in Chatham, Cape Cod, and when we first joined the ice boating club years ago, we were there visiting her, and she said originally firemen used them in Cape Cod. And it was a stand-up ice boat. And you know, where in Chatham there's lots of coves, there's a little mill pond. In those days, all those mill ponds would freeze over, they don't now. But I remember, didn't your mom say that it was firemen that they would have these little, almost like a windsurfer, but it was an ice boat that they could go down into the ice and go out into the sounds where they couldn't get by horse or whatever. And she remembers, you know, that they stood up on them and they held on to them. The firemen used them.
Okay.
So, but I don't know if that's true or not.
I think they're called South Bay skimmers, and the book that I gave to the,
To Joe.
to
At the
Joe,
lighthouse, yeah.
It's in there.
Okay.
Yeah, they still do actually race those, yeah.
Yeah, they still
You know,
sell
they actively race
Oh, do
those
they?
down on the sound, and
Okay.
when they have ice, which is rare anymore, but it is a racing class.
Have they ever been used up here? When,
Never seen one.
No.
all right, well, thank you. Any other good stories? Marty, you've got good stories back there. Marty, you got another one?
Well, the other one I can think of, that's record.
Rosie, here's one for you.
You guys remember the 3 snowmobilers that were coming from Conley's? And what was it, they lost their,
One guy knew the area, and he didn't know what side of the islands he went on,
yeah,
and the rest of them were following him.
and so there
So
were 3 of them.
they're heading for Kingston, basically.
Yeah, there were 3 of them.
I think more than that. Yeah, 4 or 5 or something.
And
I
they
think
went-
a couple of them stopped when they saw the lights disappear ahead of them.
Yeah.
And one guy that was leading had been practiced going over open water. So he just hit the gas and went across the open water because the right sled could go right across open water. And the other guys hesitated and sank.
I guess so. That was out here.
Near the channel.
It was by the channel, it was in the channel.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Heard the fire siren go off, I went down to the Coast Guard station, there was a guy coming out of the water, couldn't believe it. In the ice.
Yeah.
He must have skimmed across it with a fast sled.
I know the bay. Well, thank you very much. This has been fun. I enjoyed, I'm sure we all did. Have you guys got any questions? Bruce, any more?
No.
No,
It's
Tom?
very interesting.
Yeah.
One thing I remember, I've only been a couple of times years ago. Bill, I think, got me out of Salem. Any concerns about, what do they call, ice shelves or whatever?
Ice ridge, or pressure ridge.
Pressure ridge.
Very much so, yeah.
Did anybody hit?
What happens? What happens with that?
Well, it's either, it can buckle up high, or it can be spread apart and be open water. So, you gotta know what it's doing and know where you can cross it, because you can't cross it just anywhere. You have to, and it can change in 15 minutes, it can change.
Wow. That never works for me.
The worst is instead of it pushing up, and making a ridge, it pushes
Yeah,
down.
usually you see it.
And then it fills in with water,
Yeah.
and you can't see it.
Oh.
And you hit that, and you think you're going swimming, and you get out of your boat, you're like, oh no, and it's maybe about a foot deep, and you can feel the bottom again, the ice, and get your boat back up out of the ice.
But worse is if one comes up and the water goes down, you go the wrong way.
You go the wrong way. Hit the wall.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate it. Applause goes to you guys. Thank you.